There is a big rumor going around that Sony Pictures is still wanting to continue the Sinister Six. It's a rumor. I don't know if Superman realizes that or not, but there are rumors. I remember when there was a rumor that came out that Downey was going to return as Dr. Doom. We said, hey, there's a rumor going around that Downey's going to return as Doom. There were a couple people, might have been somebody from Krypton that said, why would you leave with a clickbait story, guys? Next week, Downey confirmed as Doom. Does that necessarily mean that this is going to be confirmed? No, but it's something that's happening. And we are going to discuss whether or not it is a good plan. It's been something that's been talked about for a long time, in the same way that the Channing Tatum thing was talked about for a bit with Gambit and then didn't come to be, but came to be in one iteration, I guess. So is Sony actually going forward with this? If so, would it be Garfield? Is it a good play? Is it a good plan? And will the son of Krypton realize what the definition of clickbait actually is? We'll find that out. What we will also be able to find out is how much of a Saved by the Bell fan that I was when I was a kid. A lot of you guys were. Paul Gosselaar has been around for a bit, man. He's been very successful. He's in the second season of a show called Found on NBC. I had a chance to speak with him for a good while. It's a really great conversation. We talk about, yes, Saved by the Bell. We talk about Found. We talk about jiu-jitsu. We talk about tons of stuff. And I'm excited for you guys to see it. I already got 12 questions. Look at that. Can I beat Roxy and Brett? Maybe. We'll see. So let's get into it, man. It is the Kristian Harloff Show here today with me. Let's do it. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. It is our Wednesday episode, as I said, when I have an opportunity to talk to some great people. I'm going to put it on this Wednesday episode, and I got one of those great people today. Mark Paul Gosselaar will be here. So there's a lot of things to discuss. We're going to talk about this rumor that was out there that Sony Pictures is still planning this Sinister Six movie. Is it true? Should it be true? Who will return? We'll get into that and more. Not only run Apple Podcasts, run Spotify, run all that stuff. Last night I did an out of the theater reaction for Smile 2. I just did a full reaction of Smile 1 with my friend Tina. It's really good. I'm hoping that you guys will check it out. I don't do horror movies often, so when I do them, I hope you guys will check them out. So I really liked the first Smile. I thought it was very creative. I liked the kind of the low budget feel, which is a compliment for it. It was very gritty, different, scary, creepy. The second one, the review embargo has since lifted, so I can talk about it. I love Naomi Scott. I think she's great, and I think she's really good in this movie. They clearly up the budget on this one. They up the overall feel. They go grander with the lore, and I kind of wish that they didn't. There's some really good moments in it, and it's entertaining for the most part. It repeats a lot of the same things. It's not as original as the first one, obviously. And I think that there's some things that they take some big swings, and where some people didn't like the ending of the first Smile. I loved the ending of the first one. I love the ending. I didn't love the ending on this one. I had too many, and it's the spoilers, too many questions of me going, well, wait a minute. That kind of goes against the lore, and how's that going to work? They're clearly trying to set up more stuff moving forward. And I thought that there were some times that I was like, oh, they're just kind of repeating that device. There's one scene, I'll just say with dancers, that's ridiculous. But there's a scene in a car that is creepy as hell. It's not as creepy as the first movie. The first one is super creepy. Super creepy. This one's a little bit more, goofy's not the right word, but it's just bigger. It's more grandiose, if you will. So I think horror fans will really dig it, though, because I think they're mixed. They're trying to get this to be a franchise, and they're going to do. And you're like, oh, well, the first Smile was this. Smile 2 was this. Smile 3 was when they went and they did this, and then 4 was this one. It looks like they're going big, and I hope it does well because I do like to see new things. It's not tired. It's just different than the first one. Yet some predictable things that already happened in the first one, if that makes sense. But Naomi Scott is great in the role. She plays this like kind of pop singer that gets the monster, and then you take it from there. You can put it together. If you saw the first one, you can put it together of kind of what happens, and then there's a couple deceiving tricks. We'll say that. That is what I got for you. That's it. So let's get into this first story. Let's get into the rumor. Sony Pictures is still planning a Sinister Six movie. That's the rumor. That's right. Despite diminishing box office returns, Sony is still said to be developing a movie focusing on Spider-Man's most fearsome foes, the Sinister Six. Now, Sony has been trying to get a Sinister Six movie off the ground for years, and the closest that the project came to making it to the screen was when Drew Goddard was attached to write and direct a spin-off of the now-defunct The Amazing Spider-Man franchise. Goddard had actually completed his script before the movie was scrapped, and the story would reportedly have focused on a group of villains, most likely Rhino, Harry Osborn's Green Goblin, along with new takes on Vulture, Doc Ock, Mysterio, and Kraven the Hunter. They're all doing battle with Andrew Garfield's webcrawler before ultimately finding redemption. Garfield spoke about his involvement back in 2021 with Collider. He said, I don't know how close it got, but I definitely had a few meetings, and it was really exciting. I've got to say, because I love Drew so much, and I love Cabin in the Woods and the other stuff he's made, we just got on like a house on fire. I loved his vision. He's so unique and odd and off-kilter and unconventional in his creative choices, so that was definitely a fun couple of months. But life, it would have been cool. Maybe one day he'll get to do it, but it would have been cool. Of course, a lot has changed since then, and even though the MCU has a new Spider-Man, Tom Holland, Sony still has its SSU movies. The Venom films may have been a success, but Morbius and Madame Web were far from it, and there's a chance that Venom, The Last Dance, and Kraven, the Hunter, underperforming could signal the end of the franchise. Even so, Scooper, My Time to Shine Hello, believes that the studio is forging ahead with the new Sinister Six movie. The previous movies have dropped a few hints that Sony was still interested in putting a villainous team together. Michael Keaton's Vulture showing up in Morbius lambasted post-credits, for example, but it was assured that the idea would have been shelved it was assumed that the idea would have been shelved at this stage. Garfield did reprise his Peter Parker role for Spider-Man No Way Home, and it's said to be locked in for at least 2 more MCU appearances, so perhaps Goddard's original concept with a very different team could be revisited. What do you think? Yada, yada, yada. Okay, so I see that where this could be, again, a conversation very similar to what we had the other day when it came to the Batman thing. You can see the conversations with the execs like, okay, look, we got our way, and they're going to put Garfield and Maguire in the next Spider-Man. They didn't want to do it. They wanted to make it more grounded, but we got them to do it. They're going to put him in there, and that builds it up. And instead of dropping the ball like we did last time and didn't do a movie with Andrew, let's do it now. And we had that Sinister Six thing. Let's just do that. We got all the villains. We got everything we can do. We'll do a big grand movie afterwards, and he'll be popular again after that movie comes out. And then here we go. Terrible idea, because that's what they're going to try to do, and then they're not going to have the storytelling. This to me is the idea, as we were mentioning yesterday, which some people still didn't pick up on what the idea of actually a cash grab is. People sometimes incorrectly say everything's a cash grab. That is so silly. Not everything is a cash grab. If you say that, you don't understand what the meaning of a cash grab, but it is. Everything is intended to make money, especially big budget movies. They're intended to make money. Everything should be intended to make money. That's not cash grab. Cash grab is when you're exploiting an idea, when you are just doing it because you think, well, it can put money in there. It can put money. Oh, we'll try to make it good, but it's just going to make money because they love it. Go, throw it. Just get some money. Money. We need money. But what about, I think that these Sony movies have been cash grabs because they're just trying to build off of what they have the property, and then they're going to try to just make money off of it without any real, like Madame Web, to me, cash grab. So this could fall into that. However, if they still do this Drew Goddard script, then maybe they got a shot to do something special with it, because Drew Goddard is very talented. Maybe they can even try to bring him back to do it. I don't know. Things have changed a lot since then. But then again, it could just be something of like them just almost what they did with the DCEU, when they just said, oh, we need to get to the Avengers fast in the way that, wait a minute, hey, it's not part of the DCU Avengers. No, what I mean is the DC, when they saw what Marvel was doing with their properties leading to the Avengers, they said, we need to have our Avengers. We got to have our Avengers. Quick, Batman v Superman. Do it, quick. But we just had Man of Steel. No, Batman v Superman. Do it, quick. What are you doing? Build. So I still don't understand. They could have just done Spider-Man 4 with Tobey, and they could have done The Amazing Spider-Man 3 with Andrew. And I don't know the legality of it. I don't know. Maybe Marvel says you can't do that. I don't know. I'm not sure. Because I don't want to say Madam Web. I don't like saying it. It's Madame. She's Madame Web. Oh, that damn Web. Madame. That's why I say it like that. Madame Web. Zoloft. That was my favorite. Someone the other day. Oh, you're so mature. You say Zoloft. Yep. That's what I do in this show. You want total professional? You are watching the wrong show. Someone heard fart noises yesterday during Roxy's thing. You've tuned into the right show. I don't believe in staying mature. I think it poisons the soul. And if you're looking for that here, you have found the wrong show. Understand that. Live in it. You just want someone that's just going to report movie news? There's tons of places like that. That ain't here. We talked about Puck from MTV yesterday. That's the show you've stumbled into. You're going to get stuff here. You're going to get mispronunciations all the time. It happens, and it'll continue to happen. So there you go. Madame Web coming in hot on the cash grab. So do I think that this is actually going to happen? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm not sure. It doesn't seem likely, to be honest. I think I think the conversation happened? Yeah, I do. I think the conversation happened. I think they're just thinking, they're crossing their fingers and hoping that something's going to happen. But we'll see. What do you guys think? You think this is going to happen? Do you think it is possible? Very curious to see what you think here. Today was a busy day thus far. Alien Romulus is a movie that I saw, and my friend Sam had never seen it before. So if you watch the Deadpool and Wolverine reaction, or any of the Deadpool reactions, or the Logan reaction, you know who Sam is now. Sam had never seen, I think she said she saw Aliens when she was younger, but didn't remember it. So we watched Alien Romulus, and it's a really good reaction. So that's going to go up. That'll probably go up on Tuesday, because Tina and I, who just did the reaction for Smile 1, we're going to do The Wild Robot, which will probably come out on Fridays. Today's Wednesday. I'm losing track of days. Today, I got Matthew Lillard coming in to record for next week, which is going to be a good one. So we have tons of stuff. So we're excited to have you guys watch all that. All right, we have a few more things to talk about, but before we do it, I've told you about Joy Mode so many different times. I've told you about the perfect gene. I get to tell you again. Here it is. I love Joy Mode. I love Joy Mode. It's not about better sex. You know what it is about Joy Mode? It supports healthier blood vessels. It boosts heart health. It enhances your athletic performance. Yeah, you didn't know that, did you, about Joy Mode? Well, I'm telling you. Expertly formulated and backed by science, it is proven to improve erectile function by 50% in just 60 days. You mix it with a pack of water and you feel the effects within 45 minutes. You take control with Joy Mode. Get a boost anytime, anywhere, never miss a beat. It features 4 simple, proven ingredients. Unlike prescription options that involve doctor visits and managing refills, Joy Mode provides a straightforward, effective solution. You embrace a natural way to boost your performance without the complications and side effects of traditional medications. I've told you about Joy Mode. It is great. Right beforehand, you drink it. And I'm telling you, it's like going to the gym. You have a supplement, same thing, and it is wonderful. It's the best. If you're looking to take your game to the next level, try joymode.com, and you use the code BIGTHING at checkout for 20% off. That's right, TRYJOYMODE.com. Use that code BIGTHING for 20% off your first order. Joy Mode, get it. Let's talk about jeans. Yeah. I recently got a pair from the Perfect Jean. You guys heard me talk about them. And they're basically the unicorn of jeans. Why? Well, they fit like a dream, they look fantastic, and they are so comfy. I forget I'm even wearing pants. In case you don't know, this is an ad. And the Perfect Jean told me to say this. But I wouldn't lie about how awesome these jeans are, because they really do live up to the name. I have mentioned, you guys have seen my wife now. She does not BS. And she said, hey, you look good in those jeans. I said, you like these? She said, I love them. Wear them more. And they fit like they were custom made. They stretch like you wouldn't believe, and they look fantastic. The Perfect Jean, they also have a seriously massive range of sizes with 6 fits from skinny to thick waist sizes from 26 to 50 and lengths 26 to 38. Doesn't matter. It's finally time to stop crushing your nuts in uncomfortable jeans by going to theperfectjean.nyc. Once again, our listeners will get 15% off your first order plus free shipping, free returns, free exchange when you use that code BIGTHING at checkout. 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc. Use that promo code BIGTHING. After your purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. You got to support our show. You have to say that we sent you. F your khakis. Get the Perfect Jean, baby. I've been looking forward to this guest for quite a while. I've been wanting to interview Paul Gosselaar for a very long time. Look, we know him as Zack Morris from Saved by the Bell, whether it's the original, whether it's the reboot, Mixed-ish. He was in NYPD Blue, Franklin and Bash, Pitch, and he is now approaching season 2 on NBC, Peacock, in a very different role in Found, where he's playing the maniacal sir, if you will. Paul Gosselaar joins me. Paul, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing all right. I call you Kristian, right? Not Kristian.
No, Kristian, please.
They had listed on my email. I knew that I was doing this podcast with you, but then it said Kristian, and I was like, oh, shit.
It's the K.
The host?
No, it's the K. The K always throws everybody off, man, all the time. I get it. It's the amount of phone calls I get when people are always, they're calling like, hey, can I speak to Mrs. Kristian Harloff? I go, doesn't exist, but we'll deal with it.
Listen, you could have a double first name like me, and people have to ask you, should I call you Mark? Should I call you Paul? Is it Mark Paul?
Right.
And then there's this like, every job I've ever gone to, and Found is no different, people say, we were told not to call you Mark, that you would get really upset if people called you Mark. And I say, who told you that? They go, no, production. And so we would always call you Mark Paul. And I appreciate that. Mark Paul is my name. Like, I go by MP.
Okay.
But I wouldn't get upset if somebody says Mark. And like, I'm sure you don't get upset when people call you Kristen.
No, well, Kristen, I don't know about upset, but I'm going to say that when people say Kristen, I go, well, we'll go for it today. But people call me, they call me Chris, and I don't, my childhood friends and my family call me Chris, but my wife, she's like, no, you don't let anybody call you Chris. It's just not my name. But it's like, yeah, same thing. I'm not going to get upset. I'm not going to say anything necessarily, but so.
But here's the thing, like if somebody calls you Chris, it's somebody who doesn't really know you.
Mostly, right? Unless those people I grew up with. People who I grew up with call me Chris. Like when I got back to New York, everybody was calling me Chris. But back when I was at LA, no one called me Chris. It was all Kristian.
Yeah. It's just funny. It's like if somebody calls me Mark, I realize we don't have a relationship that we're not going to probably have another conversation after this one. Right. It's like, you just call me Mark, and I realize that you don't unless we become friends, and then you'll realize it's Mark Paul, it's MP.
Right.
But I don't ever get upset. Like the fact that somebody would get upset about you calling, like my son's name is Michael. People, if they call him Mike, he just goes, "Oh, it's Michael."
It's funny you say that, because the same thing. Like it was when I was talking to someone, and I think they said I was called him Jason. He's like, "No, just call me Jay. Just Jay. No one calls me Jason." And it's like, okay, and that's it. You just tell people preferences, and there's no reason to get upset about it. But. So, Mark Paul, happy to have you on the show, man, and it's a pleasure to be able to speak to you. And when it comes to this show, man, let's just dive right into Found, because it's a very different role for you. And the idea, when I was watching it, I almost got like, from what Shanola Hampton is doing, it's almost like a mix in the first season anyway, of like Dexter meets Silence of the Lambs, in the way that she is having to do this thing that is not morally right. She's doing it for the right reasons. She's also gone through this trauma to where the person who kidnapped her, she has a chance to use him to get what she wants and be helpful. What was it about this role that you said, no, this is something a little different, and I want to kind of dive into this and really sink my teeth into it?
I think back to when I had the conversation with our showrunner, NK, and we discuss, there's always a handful of pilots every year, scripts that are out there for pilot season that people want to be a part of. And this was one of those. The word on this is a great elevated procedural with a twist. Didn't know what it was until I got the script and I read it and I was like, oh, that's a pretty darn good twist. And then I had the conversation with the showrunner, and it felt very limited. Like I had just come off of Mixed-ish, where I was the father of Tracy Ellis Ross's character Rainbow, and I was looking to do a drama. I don't ever go into the season going, oh, I'd like a comedy or a drama, but I was like, oh, I've done a comedy now for 2 years. I feel like doing a drama. And this felt very limited because you have the procedural aspect of it, and then you also have this character component.
Sure.
And I thought, oh, this would be fun. It's not going to be too taxing of a schedule, and it'll be fun to work with Shinola. I was familiar with her work, and I really wanted to work for Warner Brothers. There's a lot of great components that all came into play. And then you just kind of put your trust in the showrunner, and you're like, well, whatever you got for me, I'm down for. And I felt as the season progressed, we started wanting to peel the onion more and more on Sir and the relationship that he has with Gabrielle, played by Shinola. And now we're in season 2, and it's even more so. But I never would have thought that we would get to the point we are right now, season 2, after our initial conversation that I had with MK. And that's the thing with television, is that sometimes, well, most of the time, unlike a film, you have the beginning, middle, and end. Mm-hmm. On television, you could start in the middle, which is where Found started, and you're just along for the ride. And sometimes I'm aware of a characteristic of the character at the same time the audience would figure it out. I mean, you get a script and you realize, oh my gosh,
right,
there's more backstory. And now I have a brother, and you're like, oh, okay, great. I didn't even have any of that when we first initially started. So, well,
I wonder if, I want to warn people, spoilers if they haven't seen season 1, because I want to dive into what's going on in 2, is that for a lot of season 1, you're a prisoner and you're helping out. And then in 2, you're on the run. You get a chance, and I'm sure there's 2 levels of fun in the first season you've got to almost, like I said, you have to play this Hannibal Lecter type of role of kind of helping get into the psyche of Sir, saying this is the things that she should be looking out for, and then really playing to the essence of what it has this kind of really odd bond that he's got with her, that he believes he's got with her, and now he's got to get on the run and almost. I mean, we're only 2 episodes in so far, at least what I've seen of season 2, and it's like this kind of weird cat and mouse thing he's already doing, but he's messing with her, yet still, he says to her, there's a lot of people, they'd be dead if I wanted them dead. I'm doing my thing. So what is the comparison for preparing for Sir in season 1 as to where he is now on the run, season 2, and what he's doing now?
Yeah, I mean, really, there's nothing that I had to prepare. Everything's on the page. I feel for me, it's just more challenging. I knew what my boundaries were last year. I knew that I was in the basement, and then we would go back into his backstory. And so the backstory took place in a farmhouse or the school. So for me, I would just come in and go, oh, I'm in the basement today, or I'm in the farmhouse. And now I'm on location. I'm in everybody's lives on the show. And so it just, for me, it's a little more work. I know that Shinola would laugh at that statement, given that she's in every single scene, and she's there for, we film each episode in 8 days. She's there pretty much 7.5 days out of the episode. I'm there a total of, 2 maybe. My workload has been expanded, but it's nowhere near what the rest of the cast is doing, because they're doing the procedural side of the show, and we have this other component, and I'm on that side. It's funny, in the first season of the show, I never met the other actors. I sort of saw their names on call sheets, but I really never had to connect with anyone. And this year, a lot more connecting. between all of us. And then I just actually directed the last episode, episode 217. So 17 out of the 22 that we.
Oh, wow. So let's go back to that then. How does that, is that something that you say that you're interested in doing? You make that clear, when you're negotiating, whatever it is, or something else?
Yes to all that.
Okay, that makes sense.
You definitely throw it out there. I've directed, my last directing was Saved by the Bell, the reboot.
Yeah.
Peacock. That was a comedy. That was a half-hour comedy. Directed things for Stephen Bochco on a show that I actually wasn't even on. Franklin and Bash was my first thing that I directed. I enjoy directing. I'm enjoying doing Found though. I'm really enjoying working on Found as an actor. I really enjoyed directing the episode, but I feel that there's sometimes projects that you're like, I want to direct because I'm not being challenged enough.
Mm-hmm.
I need more of a challenge. I need something more to push myself. And on Found, I'm still being pushed so much by this character that I was thankful to direct, but it wasn't something that I did because I was bored.
Well, you've done a lot of comedies, obviously. You've obviously had your fair share in drama also, but when comedies have been something that you are very good at, you've been able to get that time. You said your last thing that you directed was a comedy, but when you mentioned that how much fun you're having on, or I should say that you're really enjoying working on Found, you got to go to a dark place to play Sir. I mean, you really do. And it's from what he's done, who he is, like, how do you kind of tap into that? And this is a question a lot of people, I guess, get sometimes. Some people take it home with them, some people don't. Is it hard not to take it home? Like, what goes into the psyche of Sir for you?
Yeah, it's funny. I wouldn't say that I live in a dark place, but I'm definitely glass half empty.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty cynical in certain things. People who know me well, there's a darkness there, but a fun darkness. I mean, I think dark can be.
It's a serious darkness, as they call you, Mark.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think dark can be good sometimes. It keeps me honest. But obviously I'm not as dark as Sir is. I had a harder time playing Paul. God, what was his last name? Paul Jackson. Gosh, it's so funny how quickly we forget.
Yeah.
But my character on Mixish, I actually had a harder time playing that role, that comedy, than I do on other things. Now, there's definitely a challenge of playing Sir, but generally speaking, I can connect more to dramas than I can with comedies. But Sir is on a whole nother level. I mean, it really is. We get these scripts, and I just look at it and I go, man, we have some sick individuals on our writing staff.
Right.
They point the finger at me and go, oh, you're playing this really twisted character. I'm like, yeah, I didn't write this.
Right.
Somebody else is sitting in a room that wrote this stuff. I'm interpreting what this person wrote.
Yeah.
And there's some darkness over there. But it's definitely fun. I'm really having a good time on this show, and being able to wash it off. Yeah, there's been times we filmed this show in Atlanta.
Okay.
And it takes place in DC, but we filmed it in Atlanta. I live in California, and like Shinola, we basically go back every weekend. I sometimes go back during the week if I'm not working, and we go back to our family. I have 2 younger kids that I go back for. My 2 older ones are already in college, and they could care less about me. You know how it goes.
I have a teenager, and so she's already getting that way. Totally.
Yeah. So it's good times, man. Good times. It's all that hard work that you do for them. But anyway, so I go back and forth, and it's a 4-hour flight, and I use that time to decompress and wash my thoughts out, and really use that time to prepare myself for going and walking through that door as dad. I've worked on other projects that aren't as dark but are just as intense, and sometimes I'll come home and my wife will say, "That's not the guy that I married.
Right.
I want the guy that I married."
Yeah, because it's tough because you're in a different person's mind all the time.
Yeah.
You're taking it back.
I just want to say, though, to all my wife's friends who said after the first episode of the second season, it must be hard to sleep next to Sir. You're not helping my cause.
100%.
I'm like, why would you say that? My wife's not in the industry.
Right.
She's never been in the industry. She doesn't want to be in the industry. It's what I fell in love with her.
I can relate.
I can relate.
Yeah.
And it is hard because my beard, she doesn't really appreciate the beard. I don't even appreciate it. It's a thing for the character.
Right.
The fact that it goes gray and sometimes it's groomed and sometimes it's not. And in that first episode, I mean, I had grown it out.
Yeah, it was gnarly. It was crazy. Yeah.
And all her friends are like, is Mark Paul letting himself go and all this stuff? And so this character isn't helping my intimacy with my wife.
Yeah, it's keeping the bills. It's keeping the bills paid.
Well, that's what I say.
Yeah.
I say to all of her friends, like, hey, listen, we're doing okay right now, so leave me alone.
Yeah, it's what's the other thing is I was gonna talk to you about how kind of the business has changed with streaming and stuff too, but I'll get to that in a second because one of the things beforehand. So I know I know that you're in jiu-jitsu, been doing jiu-jitsu for a while. And I've seen you on some of the UFC shows. I produce, and a very good friend of mine is Matt Serra.
Oh yeah.
And so I was talking to Matt yesterday, and I told him you were coming on, and he said, "Well, tell him if he's in Long Island, he's got a place to train at my place." So,
wow.
But the reason I bring up jiu-jitsu is because when you're talking about all of that, being on the plane, trying to settle, I'm sure that from what you've done with jiu-jitsu and that mindset, you got to get making sure you're balanced, making sure that you have the right mindset going in there. How much has jiu-jitsu helped you over the years? You've been doing it for a while now. So do you find yourself being able to pull some of the stuff that you've learned in training to be able to, okay, settle for a second, breathe, like those types of things?
I don't know that I consciously do that. But yeah, being calm under pressure and learning to just accept what's happening to you in sometimes a really unfortunate situation. In jiu-jitsu, if you're on bottom or something like that, and you're being pressured, to be able to find a place where you can breathe and think your way out of it without panicking. I don't know that I'm conscious about that. I've always sort of had that quality of not panicking and just trying to be conscious and present in a situation. But I will say that jiu-jitsu is a great outlet for me because during that 4-hour flight, I'm probably watching every single video I can on jiu-jitsu on the plane on YouTube. And, I'm studying the sport. It's become, I get that way about a lot of things. I become very obsessive about things. Mm-hmm. And right now I made a conscious decision. I've been doing it for a long time. And I got to a point where I was just a blue belt for like 8 years. Yeah. And I was a white belt for a handful of years as well. And I made a conscious decision, put all your effort, all your time into your work, your family, all that stuff. And then your activity is going to be jiu-jitsu. And so I stopped playing golf. I stopped cycling. Wow. I used to be a competitive cyclist, and I stopped all these things. And really if I wasn't doing your podcast, honestly, right now I'd be at class.
Now I feel bad.
I go to a noon class. I try to, I structure my day with the activity. It's like if I can get all my stuff done, I go to a noon class. If there's something at noon, I'll try to go to a 9 o'clock class. The one class I won't go to is the one later in the day. Because that's absolute family time. And, it's really important for us to sit down for dinner, and the kids have baseball and softball and volleyball. They do that. But when I go to Atlanta too, I have a gi out there. There's been a good 24 times that I've gone to Atlanta and trained out there with guys. If I have a day off for some odd reason where I didn't fly home, I'll go and train.
Yes. I mean, listen, every single Matt has been getting on me to do it. I'm like, I'm just worried. I'm just worried for me. Like, I hurt my back parallel parking. I'm going to go in and run around do jiu-jitsu. But he really wants me to go in there. He said, and him, Dana White, they all said. And listen, I've heard Mario Lopez talking about the fact that how it's kind of it's a different lifestyle once you really get into it. And I think that I'm supposed to go. There's Wednesdays and Saturdays classes that he wants me to go and check out, and I'm gonna probably go on Saturdays. But it's just like every single person. To hear the way that you're talking about it is not foreign to me, because every person that talks about it is just like you said, it's in your mind. You're studying it. It's almost like a religion, almost, to where it's like this feeling.
It is definitely an obsession.
Yeah. What is it? What'd you fall in love with about it? What is it in general?
You know, you hear it always. It's like it's chess. It's like a game of chess with a tiger. You know, it's like all these. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not at the point yet where it's chess. I mean, I understand that. Like, I make a move, you make a move. I can bait you to make moves. I get it. I get that. The comparison. For me, I like things that are super technical. I like things that humble you. It's a sport not unlike golf, where you just never feel you've mastered it. Mm-hmm. Even my master, Nelson Monteiro, here in San Diego, he has a red and black belt. You know, I mean, he's at like a high level practitioner of the sport. I mean, and he'll even say, "I don't know everything." You know, it's I love things like that. I think it's a great representation of life. You know, you have to. Life isn't always up, and it's not always down, and you just have to find that point where you can survive. Yeah. And sometimes you're on top, and sometimes you're on the bottom. I mean, that's basically jiu-jitsu, right? I just find it fascinating. I find the people who do it fascinating. Yeah. I've made some really good friends on the mats, and we've become friends off the mat, and it's just I don't know what it is. You're right. It's like a religion. I mean, it really is like a weird thing. I mean, it's funny, if I can't sleep because I'm thinking of something, I think of jiu-jitsu, and I just visualize myself. Yes, Kristian, I visualize myself rolling with men.
Hey, that's part of it. That's part of it. Listen, I'm telling you, like I said, it's not foreign to me to hear you say this, because it's what everyone who's really locked into it says. What was the motivation for you to say? Well, first, what was the motivation for you that you wanted to try it, and then like how did you? I wasn't sure. Is that something Mario did first? You did? Is it nothing included? I mean, I don't know if you guys did it together.
No, Mario is a grappler, right? Like he was a high level wrestler in high school, and so I don't know when he got into jiu-jitsu, but I got into it in 2008 or 9. Okay. I was a fan of UFC. I'm still a fan, but I was, you know, when UFC came out and you would see some of the jiu-jitsu guys, you know, do their thing. It was like, whoa, what is that? I got into boxing because. And Mario was always a boxer. Yeah. He was always definitely boxing well before me. But I got into boxing around 2002 because my character on NYPD Blue was a boxer. Mm. And so they sent me to go train at Wildcard Boxing, which is where Mario was training as well. And so I learned how to box. And then I kind of just fell out of the sport of boxing. I became a fan of it, and then I just fell out. Yeah. I don't know why. And a guy that was a transpo, he was on the transportation department for one of my projects. He had a jiu-jitsu school. That's and he cool. Just basically said, same thing like you, like with Matt Serra, you know, you should come out to a class and try it. And it didn't hook me right away. Okay. Right? I did it. And then I trained at Big John's McCarthy, his academy out in LA. And I was there for a while, and then I took some time off and trained all over the place, wherever I was living, and then kind of got back into it, I think in 2016, 2017, I just got really heavy into it. And that's where I made a conscious decision. Let's go. You've put so much time into this. Let's go for the belts. And
good for you. That's yeah, because I very similar. I was a big boxing fan when I was a kid. I watched boxing all the time with my dad and watching, Leonard and Hagler and Hearns and I remember watching Tyson lose against Douglas, and we just were like all those days. Like that was the big. And I remember back on Saved by the Bell when you guys used to talk about Tyson. I remember that all that stuff. But I remember like boxing to me. I remember going. I lived in New York for a while. I went to St. Pete for a little bit with my dad. And I remember going and watching like the pay-per-views, but it was 2005 when The Ultimate Fighter was going on, that because I'd watched the 93 stuff when it started and they had everybody, it was like the Kumite. But it was 2005 when it was like, no, it was Rogan, because I was a Comedy Store guy. So Rogan was, I remember him talking about, it's the next sport. I've been doing this for a while, but this thing's going to blow up. And I remember watching one night, and I just was like, "Oh, they're actually." It's like I think you said you fell out of boxing. You don't know why. The reason for me is because it's so disorganized. It's like there's WBC, IBF, IBA, all these different things, and it's like there's one organization in UFC, and you can see the jiu-jitsu guys, the wrestlers. You see everybody, and and it became more of like, because when Liddell was the champ, it was like, okay, here's a striker, and he's just going to throw his hands. But eventually, you couldn't do that. You had to learn it all, and you get someone like a John Jones, who was like the ultimate machine, a GSP, and you watch that, and it becomes hearing you talk about it, I can understand why, because it is like the ultimate mental sport. And being able, it is chess, as you say. It really is like all of that.
Well, for me, I think I remember why I fell out of boxing. Boxing is a judge sport. Mm-hmm. It comes down to a decision every once in a while. It doesn't always come down to a knockout. And I feel like with UFC, it's less about the decision. Not always, right. But it became there was a definitive like winner, right? And with jiu-jitsu, because I watch it all the time, I'll go on Flow Sports, or it's like Craig Jones just had a invitational, and ADCC is going on. Yes, there's a point system, but man, there's a definite winner. Like you never go, oh man, that guy should have won. I mean, they're very
sometimes, yeah, but you're right. Hardly ever.
Where I'd watch boxing and go, were they watching the same fight I was watching?
Right.
What is going on?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I remember that happened with a Johnny Tapia fight I watched one time, and Tapia clearly won the fight, and I was like, nah, "Come on, man, that's dirty."
And it just turned me off. Like these athletes train so hard, and they put their lives on the line, and it just like, how did it come down to that?
Yeah.
So jiu-jitsu took that away from me, and that's what there's a point system. There's with a submission, there's a clear winner.
Yeah.
And I really like that. And I still, man, I just love watching it. I love ADCC just happened. And like I said, the Craig Jones, and that was like the Super Bowl for me.
Yeah.
Like, I just sat down and watched every single match. And
do you go to the fights a lot?
No, I hate people. So
I totally get it. I totally go to a movie theater. Go to a movie theater, and it's the worst. People I had someone put up their feet with their shoes off and stinky socks. It's the worst.
Listen, I've gone to a boxing match. I've gone to UFC matches. I've gone to UFC matches. I've gone to boxing matches, and I always feel like I should have watched this on TV. Then I could rewind it. I could see what happened. I love when they go in, and I love you have Rogan telling you the commentary, and I'm like, that's awesome, right? Like to be there. It's like, yeah, okay, you were there. But
you're like me. You're a grouchy old man now, just like me. I love it.
Yeah, so I love you don't need the best seats.
Nah.
Sit at home.
Sit at home, and we're at a place now with the way that and so one of the reasons that the theater isn't doing the kind of business it did when we were kids, because you have such great surround sound systems. Yeah. That's one aspect of the technology, but then the other aspect is because of technology. If you went to a date with your wife, I guarantee you there's going to be some teenager texting, talking, and you're going to say, "We should have just watched this at home."
Yeah. It takes you right out of the experience because you're not there just with your wife. It's so true. We were just at some movie because my kids wanted to go see it, and I'm just like looking at these other kids. I'm like, I just wanted to throttle them. I was like, you know,
100%.
like, be quiet.
Yes.
Like I'm trying to watch a movie here, but I get it. Like they're with their buddies, and that's the experience that they're having.
Oh, you're nicer than I am. I don't get it. I don't understand how they have this streaming. Like, just people, get off your phone. What are you there for? You there to watch the movie? You're there to text that you beat home. It drives me nuts.
Yeah,
it drives me nuts. Yeah,
old man.
Yeah, we're cranky old men. So we were mentioning before when it came to the fights and it comes to jiu-jitsu and it comes to all that, and we mentioned in Mario, and I'd be mad at my 15-year-old self that I've only seen you talk about this once, and if you talked about it more than that, I get it. But the infamous fight scene that happened in Saved by the Bell, right? I know that there was the one you talked about, and you said that when you were looking at it because he was a wrestler and he. Tell me about that fight scene and how that. I feel like you guys almost kind of the two of you like almost improv it felt like, because it was like you threw it like, because that punch, it was what for what Saved by the Bell was. That was a pretty realistic fight scene. So what went into that day and how did that come about?
So I don't remember much about that day, but what I will tell you is that if you were to recreate something like that now, and I can't really say that, but recently I've been involved in fight scenes.
Okay.
Right. And you will have a stunt coordinator, you will have a double, you will have pads, and you will have rehearsed it. And they may do a pre-film of it where they're going to show you what they're going to do. And I remember with that Saved by the Bell thing, it's like, it's in the script and, you go half speed during rehearsals and the run-throughs and stuff like that. And then when the lights came on and it was Friday night, we're in front of an audience, I think it was a real fight. I mean, honestly, like Mario used his wrestling to get me down on the ground. I didn't have any pads on. There was nothing on the ground. I mean, I hit the pavement of the studio. And then the punch that he gets off. Yeah, I look back at that now and I just giggle because there was no, the standards and practices kind of of it all. It was raw. And there may have been some, like real emotions in that, because none of us were backing down, and I surely wasn't going to say that he hurt me or he wasn't going to say that I hurt him in any way. But that's about as real of a fight scene as I think I've ever done, and I was only 16.
I know, and it came out of nowhere. I mean, it's like they're playing pranks on each other throughout the whole thing, and they're obviously, like they always do, they're going after a girl. But it was like, that fight came. I remember watching that with my brother, going, "Whoa!" Because it was, and because Zack was a bit over anxious. He threw like a big bomb. He throws a big right hook.
A buddy of mine, a jiu-jitsu guy, I'm gonna give him a shout out, Matt Arroyo.
Yeah.
I was doing a Comic-Con and Matt lives in Tampa, and so hopefully
he's looking at my families too. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was thinking about him the other day and sent him out a text and whatever. But he had come up to me at a Comic-Con and recreated that exact same scene with his brother.
Oh,
and
wow!
They did it in front of me. I had no idea what was going on. They literally came up to me while I was sitting there, and he starts going, whatever Slater says to Zack, like something blah blah blah, preppy.
Yeah.
And then Zack says something, and they did this whole dialogue for dialogue, and then they started fighting. I was like, what do you got? What is going on here? They're like, dude, we just did this scene, and the thing. I go, oh, right. Like it was,
right.
It's not even in my universe, but they did a really good reenactment of that scene.
Isn't that funny? It's because that scene I've seen that a handful of times, but of course for you it's like, that was, you said, I don't even remember that day really that much because that was what you did. That was your life for when it was. Obviously it stuck with a lot of people for a long time, but for you, and I had heard you on another interview where you said for a little bit it was tough for you to find work after that because they saw Zack Morris. When you walked into a room, they're like, oh, where's the blonde-haired kid? He's not here. Who's this guy? And you have to break out of that. But it's like you do have to, at one point, push that off to the side. And I want to get to that journey with you about the in-between. But it also is why I was curious why you decided to go back in 2020 to say, yeah, you know what? I'm going to revisit. We're going to go back and we're going to do this. I'm going to go and I'm going to direct, obviously. It's probably part of the deal. But was there any hesitation to go, no, I pushed that so far behind. I don't want to go back to it again?
No, and people would always ask, when are you going to do a reboot? That was always a question that I'd get in a lot of interviews. When reboots became the thing, right? And people would say, but you're never going to do it, right? You never want to revisit that again. And I never had any animosity or any negative feelings about Saved by the Bell. Maybe the first 2 years after we had wrapped, and we wrapped that in '94. I didn't really work until 1996, and funny enough, it was another NBC movie of the week when they did those, and I said movie of the weeks plural because I did 3 in a row.
Wow.
In the second half of 1996, and played actually the one that I came back. I played a kid in college that raped Candace Cameron Bure. So I played a despicable character. My second role after Saved by the Bell. But
does that make you nervous doing a role like that? Because if you say, okay, no, you didn't
think of it. Didn't think of it because it's interesting. It's like Zack Morris was such a departure of who I was in my personal life. Right, I was everything about Zack Morris was. I created that character. I mean, they created the character, and then it's your interpretation. But my interpretation was of all these cool kids that I went to school with. When I went to school, I was a wallflower, man. No one really knew of me. People weren't really into the fact that you were in the business. It wasn't a thing. It's such a thing now, and I think social has really pushed that over the edge.
Sure.
Of being in front of a camera, no matter in what capacity. But back then it was like, oh, you're an actor? Oh, that's stupid. Do you play football? It's that kind of thing. Right. And I didn't get to play football. I wanted to play football. But Zack was a character in my head that I created, the blonde hair. I didn't have blonde hair. I had blonde hair as a kid. But my mom started dyeing my hair a little bit more and more as I was getting older, and you put sun in your hair, lemon juice, and go stand out in the sun for an hour. But I don't want to, Mom. I've gone to therapy over this, so don't worry about it.
Right.
But so that when I was done with Saved by the Bell, I was like, oh, I can go back to just being me. It's like after Found, I'm gonna shave this beard off. I'm gonna cut my hair.
Right.
And I don't.
Probably feels like a cleanse. Probably feels like a cleanse, right?
Yeah. And the same with Saved by the Bell. It's like I wasn't trying to distance myself from the character. It's just that I am distance away from these characters.
Sure.
It's like when I played Mike Lawson from Pitch, and the big beard and the weight and the way I carried myself. The minute we're done, I go back to just being me. Yeah. And it's of course it's somewhere in between the characters that I play and who I am. But I never felt like, oh, I really have to do something to distance myself from this character. I would just walk into a room, and then when I did Dead Man on Campus after that, my hair was black on that because I had just dyed my hair like all these weird colors right before then, and wasn't prepared to like just shave my head, so I dyed it black. Yeah. And then when I went in for that audition, they're like, "Oh, we love the black. I love what you're trying to get away from your character." I'm like, "No, I just just dyed it black." And they're like, "We love it. Keep it for the character." Or when I wear a hat, people will always say like, "Ah, you're incognito." I'm like, "No,
I'm wearing a hat."
Just wear a hat. Yeah. But I've never had to, fortunately, never had to actively feel like I'm trying to distance myself away from a specific character.
How did it feel?
That people didn't feel that way, because I feel like, the industry definitely wanted to pigeonhole me into that and think that I was that, but I never thought I was.
Especially back then, it's tougher because there was so much. It was harder. There's so much going on right now with streaming and everything else too. There's a lot of opportunities for actors to do a lot of different things, but I feel like, especially back then, typecasting very hard to get out of. So, and it took a lot, and a lot of you guys had to really fight through that, and how you were able to do it. And did it feel like comfortable because I know you said you kept in touch with a lot of, I know you and Mario obviously were close, and you kept in touch with a lot of your cast. So when you were acting together again in that reboot, did it feel kind of like old hat, or did you have to kind of get the juices again? Yeah, it did.
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, we keep in touch. I mean, I keep in touch with Elizabeth and Tiffany. And Tiffany's husband and I we have a lot in common, and we like to connect. No, when we got back for the reboot, again, it was one of those things with the reboot. We're going back, and I like how you circled back to this because I wanted to explain something. Is that we were always open to doing a reboot. It's just that no ideas were that came through were anything that excited us.
Yeah.
And then when Tracy Wigfield sat down right before COVID and pitched me the idea of how she was going to reboot Saved by the Bell, I was on board the minute she opened her mouth. It was so right and innovative, and you know, you want to honor the original,
right?
But you also want to take it in another direction. At least that's what we wanted to do with Saved by the Bell. And I mean, reading that first script, I loved it, and we were all on board with it right away.
Yeah, it was cool to see you guys be able to do that again. And
it was fun, man.
Yeah,
I'm still disappointed. I mean, I have to be careful because they're my current employer.
Yeah.
But again, it was NBC, and I'm disappointed that they canceled that show. Man, those other actors that played our kids.
Yeah.
They were so talented, and the writing was so fresh and so fun. And I had such a great time directing one of those episodes. But I'm still a little sore from Peacock canceling that.
I get it. But look, in the same breath though, isn't it also, you don't know what's going to happen there? You don't wind up getting found if that,
yeah,
you know?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things, like there's a few projects that you do that when they get canceled, they sting.
Yeah.
Pitch was one of those. I mean, Pitch more than anything was one of those that I think the audience is still asking me. It's almost been 10 years later. They're like, "Are you guys going to get back together?" I'm like, "I'm 50 years old. How would I play a major league player, ball player?"
Yeah.
But that was one of those that really hurt.
Yeah, no, I know. I was going to ask you about Pitch because, you know, as I also read that was the one time, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the one time that you considered leaving the business afterwards because it stung so much. Is that true?
Yeah, I think about leaving the business every time. It's true.
Yeah.
I you know, as an actor, we have such highs and such lows. Again, we'll go back to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. But
there's such highs and such lows. You have to find some middle ground. And sometimes I'm like, what is that middle ground in this business, right? There's the strike hit. And people are still recovering from it. From crews to actors to just everything there's still people that are out there that haven't recovered. And so I get to that point where I'm thinking, what could I do in my life that that's just more consistent?
Yeah.
And I really love acting. I love being in front of the camera. I love collaborating. I like being behind the camera. I just love the business.
Yeah.
The business doesn't define my life, and I've always lived outside of the industry. But I love being on a set, and I love everything that it offers, and creating and being creative and all that stuff.
Oh, dude, I relate to that so much. Where like this, we were talking about it as we were about to start recording, and we were talking about podcasting, and this is what I've been doing with my life the last 13 years, and it's like it's the same thing. There are a lot of times I'm like, I had gotten producer jobs, steady jobs, other jobs to where I'm like, okay, this is ex-girlfriends were like, just stay and do that. And I'm like, no, like I can't. It's just like, there's just something in you. You're like, it calls for, and I've been there many times. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. And then it's like, no, you're not done. It's like it's the old Rocky quote, it's like, you gotta get back up. You have to get back up.
It's funny. I made that comment after Pitch. I said, I don't know what I said. I said something like somebody had asked me years after. It was like, how did that affect you? And I go, it made me almost think about quitting the career, quitting this career.
Yeah.
And because you're so content in doing something, and you're thinking, this is it.
Yeah.
This is the one. This is what I've been working my ass off to get to at this point. And then it gets taken away from you for something you have no control over.
Right.
And it hurts. It just makes you just want to take a step back. And, and then you realize how much you enjoy what you're doing, and it fills a hole in some way, and you go right back at it. That's life.
It is, and it's look, especially this is why I really give you so much credit in how since you were working back when you were a kid. I mean, you started when you were what, 13?
Earlier than that.
Wow.
I mean, I was on Brewster.
Oh wow, that's right.
Yeah, like 11, and I was on Highway to Heaven.
Okay.
When I was maybe 10.
Okay, so you've been in the business for like 40 years. So it's like, so when and you've seen so many different changes because I was thinking, because you and NBC have a pretty good relationship. You worked on a lot of NBC stuff, and just watching, like even looking at Found right now, and I think the first season was 12 episodes, I believe. 13 episodes. Okay, 13 episodes. So I feel this is a very different business, in where if this is 2004, this show's probably 23, 24 episodes stretched out, because the business had changed so much, and where it can be on Peacock, they give it more time. Or I feel like 12 episodes to me, 12, 13 episodes is the perfect time to really let something marinate, let the characters marinate. And do you feel, because these networks now, they have streaming platforms, they have more, they are in competition with the other streamers and it used to be just the network shows. That's it. You got a network show. But now there seems like there's more, the writers that they bring in, it seems like there's more quality in some of these writers, the different projects. How do you feel that the business has changed because of the streamers, because of everything else, and what you've seen with your experience over the course of your working in this business?
I have a love-hate relationship with the paradigm of streaming versus network. When I was on a network, like for instance, NYPD Blue, we would do 22 episodes.
Yeah.
Long years. I mean, you do 9 months out of the year. And then you'd have a 3-month break and you go right back at it. And you can always find something wrong with that schedule.
Yeah.
Then you do something like Franklin and Bash. We did 4 years of that.
Yep.
We only did 40 episodes in 4 years, because we would do 10. I would work for about 3.5 months and then have 8 months to basically FO. And that was tough, because now I'm making way less money, but my nut is still the same.
Right.
And so now some people will say, well, that's great, though. Then you can go and find other things to do. You do your 10 episodes of Franklin and Bash, and then you have 8 months to go do a film. Sure, but films have to align, and there's a lot of components that have to work, right. And sometimes they fall through and all this stuff. And they're like, but you can work on other things. No, you can't, because I was obligated contractually to work on Franklin and Bash. I can't go on another show. So maybe I can do a handful of guest starring roles, which, yeah, they pay well, but they're not like being on my own show.
Right.
And so I did that for quite a while. And then there was a few where, I do one season and then be done. Like Pitch was like 10 episodes and then done.
Yeah.
Pat was 10 episodes and done. And then I finally got Mixed-ish. And Mixed-ish, our first season, we did 23 episodes. And I was like, yes. Yeah. I love working.
Yeah.
Right? So I loved working, because the more I work, the more money I make. Sure. The more I can buy toys and do more jiu-jitsu and do that. My life becomes so much better when working. Doesn't make me happier, but I can supplement some things that will
makes you breathe a little. Makes you breathe a little easier.
Sure, yes, of course. Sure. And I have kids, and I'm providing for them. So when Found came along, we did the first 13. Second season, we get picked up for 22. I am ecstatic. I mean, it is. We're currently on episode 18 of 22. And
oh wow! So you are doing 22. You're doing 22. Yeah. Oh wow! Yeah. Okay.
So I see the light, and I'm like, no, I don't want to see the light. Let's just keep going.
Oh wow!
Like, but we need the time to, obviously, like the writers are burned out, the other actors are burned out. I told my co-star Shinola, I'm like, this is the life. As being on television, this is what you want. You want to be able to work and expand these characters. I mean, the work that we've done this year is so fantastic and so much fun. Yeah. I could find one more word that started with F, it'd be 3 in a row, it'd be great. But it's like, I love this. I love I love these expanded, and these are rare, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when's the last time you heard a show getting picked up for 22?
I know that's what I was saying, because normally it's not,
Yeah.
it doesn't have, they don't do it as much anymore. So yeah.
But I feel bad for some actors that are on these other shows that are doing 10 because they're contractually obligated to be on that show, and now they're stuck on these shows, and some of them they don't go. They'll extend the time, the seasons. So maybe the lead actor is doing a film, and now they have to push the schedule back. Well, there's other actors that are on that show that are now haven't worked for a year, 2 years.
Or you just mentally exhaust yourself. I always remember the story about Michael J. Fox when he was working on Family Ties, and they wanted him to do Back to the Future, but he couldn't do it, so they gave it to Eric Stoltz, and he's like, no, you know what? I will do it now, because Eric Stoltz was working out, but he went from Family Ties to Back to the guy didn't sleep. He didn't sleep, and it's like, so like, but it puts you, I guess that was a good point that I didn't really consider, that it puts you in a bind where it's like, yeah, okay, you'll do these 10 episodes, but you can't do anything else, and you don't get the kind of money that you would at 22 episodes. So it's like the catch-22. Yeah, I'll work for 9 months, and it'll be worth it, because for 22 episodes, I'll be eating nice for quite a while, and especially now you're into season 2.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm coming from a place, I'm speaking about myself. There's obviously people that are totally fine with doing 10 or less. That's fine. What works for me though is the fact that I work more and doing more episodes.
Well,
I have 4 kids. I got a lot of mouths to feed.
I'm telling you, I'm with you. I completely understand. I relate to a lot of stuff that you're throwing down, especially not wanting to go out and be around people. I'll tell you that. But the thing, let's say, so Found, it goes 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 seasons. Right.
Love it.
After it's done, after it's over, what does Mark Paul want to do next? Do you want to continue acting? Do you want to continue directing? A mixture of both? Do you want to produce some stuff? What as because I'm always I think pivoting is always, as we get older, is always something that we try to do, right? We try to pivot. What's next? What are we going to do? What are change? Whether it's discovering jiu-jitsu and making that part of your life. What is the goals of what you want to accomplish as the golden years?
Well, after 15 seasons, I think we'll be doing this podcast from my island.
Perfect.
So I'll
I'm in.
Make sure, I fly you out on my private jet.
I'm in.
I know. I mean, 15 years. I would love to be the next Law and Order SVU. Nothing would make me more happy. I don't know. I don't have this long-term goal. I just know that I live my life. Oh gosh, I'm going to hack a quote. I could pull it up on my phone while we're talking, but it's essentially like, if you want to be in the lead, act like you're in second place, basically, right? So that I never feel like I'm winning. And it goes back to being the half glass empty. Yeah. I'm fine that way. That's how I was brought up. My parents were very humble and always brought me to a level of understanding that you're not the most important person in the room. And you need to, if you want to get something, you have to put work into it. And just at the same time, never being complacent and knowing that there is no ceiling on things, and you can achieve those things. You just have to put the work into it. Yeah. My mom would always say, and I always used to hate when she would say it, because she said it all the time, and I go into like a Howard Stern voice when he talks about his mom, but it's, if there's a will, there's a way. Mark Paul, if there's a will, there's a way. And I'm like, shut up. Now I understand it,
Isn't that crazy how that happens? It's so true. My daughter says to me all the time, oh, Dad, you don't want to talk about it. I'm like, and in my mind, I'm going, please let that be the one that sticks in there. The way that it's stuck in there with my dad and my mom, the way what you just said, it like stays in there. But at the time, you're just like, get out of my face.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
It's so true.
It is funny. I'm now at a point in my life where I become more and more like my father and my mother. Like, there's certain things that I'm doing. I'm aware of it, and sometimes it'll make me giggle, and sometimes I'm like, get out of my skin. Like, I'm not you. Same. But you are your parents, and I just look at my kids, and I have a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old and an 11 and a 9-year-old. Wow. And I just hope that I can help them on their journey and I've given them the resources to become, well-rounded individuals, and that they can always come to me at any stage of their life, good and bad, and I'll be there for them and help in any way that I can. A thing that my wife and I kind of live by is, better, do better.
Right.
It's like we sometimes blame our parents for things that are happening in our lives, and they blame their parents and so on. And they had it harder than we have it now. And same with me. I have it harder than my kids have it now. And it's just all relative.
Yeah.
But the more I know, the more I want to be better. And I think it's with my career too. The more I do, the more I want to do.
Sure.
And I don't feel like, I got my SAG card in 1984. And for some of your listeners are going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe he's that old. Yeah. He's going to die soon. And they're not wrong. But I don't ever look at what I've done in the past and think, oh man, I've done it all. I don't want to do more. I still feel like I'm a newbie to this industry. And
yeah.
I've never been to an award show in my whole entire life.
Really?
I've never been to the Emmys or the Oscars, and not that I'm asking.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
I don't want to, but there's certain things that I've done in my career that and there's other things that I've never done, and I'm like, I have so much more to experience, and so I'm having this great time on my show, and I've been able to travel. I just went to the Olympics because of my show. They promoted. Look at these great opportunities.
Did you get a chance? Did you take your family, or you went out there by yourself?
Oh, I went with my family.
That's cool.
No, I
That's
went
cool.
with my wife. We had the Olympics portion of that was my wife and I. We went on with NBC because we did some promotional stuff there, and they treated us so well, and we got to see so many great events and have such an amazing time. But I flew my whole family. I flew my kids out there.
That's great.
And we spent time with extended family that live in Europe.
How fun is that? That's an experience, right?
Wow, come on, man. Yeah. I mean, this is stuff like, the work that you put into, and you get these perks and these opportunities, and it's not lost on me. And I'm like, I am so fortunate, and I love it, man.
Yeah, that's a great experience. All right, so the last thing I want to ask you before you take off, and thank you again for your time here today. I appreciate it, and congratulations on the show. There was something, I know that there was I want to end on a note of something I wanted to ask, because you had tweeted something out that I thought was really obviously heartfelt when we lost Dustin Diamond. And what you wrote and what you said there, I lost my brother, one of my brothers, in 2018, and he went through a lot of rough times, a lot of rough things. And we were on pretty good terms when he passed, but I know that you and Dustin had a kind of falling out. He had a falling out with a bunch of people. Did you get a chance before he passed? Did you ever had a chance to reconcile with him at all, or it just never came to that?
Well, to back it up, we never had a falling out.
Oh no? Okay.
No.
Okay.
It's so funny, like what people create. We weren't ever close. I'll say that much. And they'll say we weren't close because then people say, well, you worked with the guy for 5 years. He was 3 years younger than us. Yeah. Or maybe more. And if you remember how it was in school, if you were a senior and you hung out with a freshman,
right?
Come on, man. You were like, what are you doing?
Right.
You just never thought of, unless it was the opposite sex or whatever.
Sure.
But not like there's other standards and practices there we should. But you know what I'm saying? I
know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, especially when you're a kid, you're a teenager working on that show, man.
Dude,
totally.
If you were 25 and you were dating a 21-year-old, it was like a thing.
Right.
Whoa, man. You can't find somebody your own age.
Right.
And it just, as you become older, age gaps don't matter as much.
Sure.
But at that point, when we were 16 and we're hanging out with a 13-year-old, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Dustin had his own friends. We kind of all stayed together. Yeah, it wasn't right, probably. It probably affected him in some way if we look back now. But as a kid, you're like, you're a kid, and we're way more mature than you. So that was probably the separation, the distance between us, and would create certain tension between Dustin and the rest of us. Never thought, I mean, I never had any animosity towards him. And then his book comes out and all this other stuff comes out. All that stuff, I was like, Dustin, oh, come on, man. That stuff is not true. And you're creating this stuff in your head. But again, anyone who knows me, I'm a Pisces, man. And it's like, I don't care that much. I swim from one end of the fishbowl to the other, and I've already forgotten what the hell we were fighting about. The last time I saw him, I think was in 2018. Okay. We were at a Comic-Con, or maybe it was a little bit later than that. But it was pretty much right before his death. And we had a booth right next to each other, and you just strike up a conversation as if we'd been buddies all along. Good. No hard feelings to him. And then, you write the tweet or whatever. And I remember I wrote the tweet, and there were a few, you always look at the negative comments, and some of the comments were like, "Oh, you never liked him to begin with," and all this stuff. That's not the point, but that's not the point. That's not sincere. Who wrote that for you? And I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, the internet.
It's one of the reasons I'm not on social. I blew
Good for you. Social. If I didn't have to do it for this thing, I wouldn't be on it either. It's the worst.
My co-star just gets on me about it because she has to do a lot of work on social and for her show, and I love her for it, and I think she does a great job. But I am not. I'm too fragile. I read the comments, and it does affect me. Yeah. And I wasted a lot of time, in my opinion, on it. And I didn't need that. Again, I have young kids, and I don't want them to be on social. And if Dad's on social, what message am I telling them? Right. And so, if they want to at some point, when they get their phones, after 8th or 9th grade, sure. You do what you want within reason. We'll have boundaries, but I can't be on it right now. And then say to my young kids, like, oh, it's terrible.
You don't need to. Let NBC tweet out for you. You don't do it.
But then I'm missing all these, TikTok challenges and stuff like that.
You're okay. You are okay. Mark Paul, thank you so much, dude, for joining me here today. Once again, for everybody, please go and check out Found. It's in season 2. If you haven't seen season 1 yet, go and watch it on Peacock. Go and check it out. Mark Paul, again, thank you, dude. I look forward to talking to you again.
I would love it. Again, remember, in 15 years, I'll be on an island. So
I'm coming. I'll be there. I'll be there.
Have to figure it out.
I'll be in my third year of jiu-jitsu at that point. All right, brother. Talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Well, I'll have some mats on the beach.
Please. Good. You can kick the hell out of me for calling you Mark. All right. I'll see you later. Hey, Mando, you all been running around, working out, just walking, and you're like, oh, that stinks. No matter where it is, your pits, your nuts, you need Mando. I like Mando because it's smooth, baby. But I like when I'm in the shower and I'm using any of the Mando stuff, I'm like, oh, I smell wonderful. And I didn't know how it was going to work before I even knew about Mando. And then now that I do, I can't go back. I love it. Deodorant is wonderful. It is safe to use anywhere in your body. You can use it on your pits. You can use it on your nuts. You can use it on your thigh. No matter what, your belly button, your butt. There's a lot of different variety of fresh scents that you can do. Bourbon leather is the one. I talked to Winston about one. That's the one I think he uses too. 12 hours after the shower, the average man's Grundle odor level was 5 out of 10. With Mando, the average Grundle odor level is a 0. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers will get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code, Big Thing. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack code. But you got to use that code Big Thing. Go to shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Use that code Big Thing. All right, thank you to Mando. Make sure that you guys check out our links. I tell you that all the time. We have the Perfect Gene. We had Mando. We had, of course, Joy Mode. You go in the link in the description. That's how you help us out. Another way you help us out is comment. Come on, man. We get good interviews like that. How great was that? You guys don't understand. I was a big Saved by the Bell fan as a kid. Like, really, when I was starting stand-up, I would say a good percentage of my jokes were about Saved by the Bell. Love that show. And I got to talk to Mark Paul about the fight, man. I said I had to ask about that fight. There's so many different things he's talked about a million times, but I had to talk about that fight. And the fact that he said it was basically a real fight was interesting. There's so much. What's funny too is I think he warmed up to me. I think at first he was like, yeah, all right, I'm just going to do this interview. And then I think he warmed up to me. I don't know what you guys thought, but it felt like that. Felt like a good conversation. I want to talk to him again. I liked how honest he was. And he's not like trying to pretend that he's a people person. Like, I completely understand. He's like, I don't hate people. I don't like to be around people. I love that type of honesty. I hate when the fake facade of this is like the guy, look, we're all there when we get older. We get a little grouchy. But I felt he was pretty damn honest with me, so I liked it. Thank you guys for checking it out, tuning in. We've got more of these interviews that I'm excited about, and I like doing it on the Wednesday spot. We got Matthew Lillard, who's going to be coming in today, but you guys will see it next week. He's going to be in studio, which will be great. And we're working on more of those. I'm working on getting renting a studio in the city because there's more time. Because virtual's cool. I mean, virtual's the only thing I could do with Mark Paul because he's in LA, But if people are in New York, I'm not doing virtual. I'm not going to do that. I'll just rent out a place in New York. Same place that Chris Van Vliet rents out. So I'll do that, and I'll do some more stuff for you guys. But I'm excited to do it. I'm also excited. Look, hey, last week I don't even think I got 8 questions, maybe 9. We're at 26 today. I'll take it. I'll take 26. And hell, maybe we'll make 30 before the end of the show. But the first one comes in from Matthew Garrett, who says, Kristian, please watch Caddo Lake, one of the best. I don't know what that is. You got to tell me what that is. I'm not sure what that is. I've never heard of it. Matthew Welchel. He says, I'm sorry I'm late to this party, but I read that Damian Wayne will be Robin in James Gunn's DCU. I can't stand that character, and I wish they would do a proper Dick Grayson story or Jason Todd would be better. I think, what's funny is that I don't think that they really had I think that people say, well, Jason or Dick Grayson's been done already. I mean, he has been, but going with your point, has he been done well? Nothing. Chris O'Donnell was good, but not his fault that the goofiness of the movie, but I don't know yet. I can't judge it because I don't know enough about Damian Wayne. But it looks like that. Damian Wayne seems to me more of a James Gunn type Robin from what I'm aware of. Mustafa Agin. I'm aware that you've already rejected this idea, but many would love it if you gave the One Piece anime a go. The law and mythology is so rich and deep. So it's not that I rejected it. Remember, I love the live action series. There's 2 reasons why I don't think that I'd be able to do the anime. The first is I don't want to ruin any storylines and things that could potentially happen in the live action because I know they do a lot of that. So that's part 1. Part 2 is just so much of it. I barely have time to do any of this stuff I'm doing today. So it's just I don't think I have enough time for it. More so than it's not a lack of interest. Derek 011. Hey Kristian, just watched A Wild Robot with the wife on digital. It's the first time she ever said she wished she could have seen it in IMAX first. Yeah, it's a great movie. I'm actually going to be doing so. That's the schedule today, man. It's busy. Somebody, and sometimes I can admit I come off a little hot, especially after yesterday. There's a guy who made a comment, and he deleted it since, but you guys talk about the time codes here, right? And I used to do time codes all the time. Let me also make it very clear. It's not that I don't want to do time codes. There is a gentleman who watches this show and he puts time codes in every time, and I cut and paste it and put it in. I do not have the bandwidth to do time codes at the moment. I also don't have the funds to hire somebody to do it. I'm tapped out. What I do is that basically, I told this guy is I wake up 8 in the morning. Well, I don't wake up at 8. Wake up at 6, 6:30. Got to get the kids out by 8, get them to school, help the wife with that, get to work, 8:30, 8:45, start prepping stuff, moving towards this show, other things, editing, whether it's Sarah's show, taping her. Today I taped a reaction with Sam. Next thing you know, it's 12:30, 12:40. I'm getting ready to go on the air. I have to make sure that the Mark Paul interview is ready to go. It is. Next thing I know, blink my eyes, it's 1 o'clock. Show happens 1 o'clock to maybe 3 o'clock today. Do some stuff, prep some stuff, work on some sponsor things, try to get a UAP show done. Next thing you know, I got to upload to Spotify. 4 o'clock comes, Matt Lillard's in studio. That's about an hour. 5 o'clock, 5:30 comes, Tina comes in to do the Wild Robot reaction, then go home. And it's like there's no time to do stuff. This is no time to do stuff. So I am working on, and people, like, when it comes to budget, those other things, is that, yeah, look, one of the things about going live is that it helped with the budget. But the other thing is, you got to, if you're when you're hiring somebody to be on your show, a co-host, and they're doing an hour, it's a different rate than when you ask them to be on for 2 hours out of their day. And then that has to make up. So it's like, and there's just a lot that goes into it. Not everybody pays attention to that stuff, and why would you? So I would love to do time codes. It's just a matter of if I can. And the fine gentleman that's been doing it is going to keep cutting and pasting. Do me a favor, the guy who does the time codes when you're watching this. Do you mind, after I cut and paste your time codes, if I delete the comment? I haven't deleted the comment out of respect, because I don't want you to feel like, oh, I put this in there and now it's gone. I'm putting it in the description, but I want to see how you feel. If you feel you want me to just leave it in the comments, then I will do so, because you've been taking your time to do that. He's been doing as much as he can. Not his job. He just does it to help. Cinema Fan 324. AMC needs to show more restricted trailers in front of families. Needs to show more restricted trailers in front of families? They did it with Sausage Party and again for The Nun 2. Do you mean AMC needs to needs to stop showing more restricted in front of families? In front of Blue Beetle and Nun 2. I think you mean they need to stop, is what you're saying. I think. Derek the Great, showing some support as he does each and every show. He really has been an angel to the KH channel, and I really appreciate that. Some of the reactions that I'm doing, by the way, we got Warrior coming up with Sam, Wild Robot with Tina, Live Action Lion King with Tina, Venom 1 and 2 with my wife, Heat with my wife, which she's never seen, which I'm excited about. Derek Great says, why is Sony holding on to these rights so tightly? Are they really making money on Spider-Man, or are they holding it hostage to milk any money at Disney? Well, it's I guess it's a little column A, a little column B. It's like they want to hold on to the rights because it's one of their only IPs that they have, and they want to try to make money off of it. They own it, and they don't want to lose it, because they can make, as if it hits. It's just the problem is they don't have the formula to make it hit yet. And you look at Venom. Venom was like, oh, we did this right, And then Venom 2 was like, nope. And then I don't know about Venom 3. I'm going to see it next week. But the other side of, they're not holding it hostage to milk money out of Disney, because that was never the case before they made that deal. The deal before they even had a deal with Disney, they still had the rights and were trying to. And that was why Andrew Garfield was kind of raked over the fire, because Tobey Maguire, that movie with Sam Raimi, the fourth one, was like, I think it was scheduled to go, and it was like a week out from shooting, and then it all fell apart. And then Sony, if they didn't make the movie by a certain time, were going to lose the rights. So they put together The Amazing Spider-Man as fast as they could before the rights expired, and they didn't lose the rights. So it's a matter of it's just an IP that they don't want to get rid of. So that's ultimately what it comes down to there. Mike Joyce, there he is. Harris Trump are making the rounds on various podcasts right now. If you had the opportunity to interview them, would you? Only on my UAP show, because I wouldn't ask them about I actually went on this whole thing yesterday. There's this, and probably none of you, well, I shouldn't say none of you, but probably a lot of you have no idea about this. I don't care what you believe. Whatever you think's flying around the sky, if you think it's nothing, if you think it's drones, it's fine. I'm not trying to do that here. But there is a story, and I don't even know how many of you guys are aware of this. For 17 days, there were things that were seen over Langley. For 17 days, over Langley Air Force Base, which is a major, major Air Force base, and they don't know what these things were. And someone who used to, Chris Mellon, who used to work very high level in for defense, said that these things have been seen going into something else, whether it's a mothership, not necessarily an alien thing, but the mothership, the thing where these drones are going out, and they want it to be seen. And then the Pentagon has been having meetings about this, and no one is News Nation reported on it, the Daily Mail, but nobody else talked about it. And I said, I don't care if you think everybody's a lunatic who's covering this thing. If you see this airbase and you see this thing and this happening, shouldn't you guys who don't know what the hell, he's like, okay, fine, I don't believe whatever the hell Harloff's talking about, but what the hell was flying over it? Just tell me what it was. Tell me it was a bunch of lights. Tell me it was a bunch of balloons. They're not saying nothing for 17 days. 17 days. And you guys probably don't even know the story. And I just said it was irresponsible that people aren't talking about it. Those are the types of questions from any senators, Democrats, Republicans, whoever they were. That's all I would talk to them about, because the same old rhetoric, whoever you guys are voting for. It's like all they're gonna for the next couple of weeks. All you're gonna see is this is why the person that you want to vote for is so great, and the person that is so bad, and you should hate them, and they're gonna hate you, and hate. It's destructive. There's nothing. The politics and how it used to be is gone. Long gone are the days of people shaking hands and saying, "Okay, we'll talk a little crap about each other, and I'll try some dirty politics." But ultimately, it's shake hands. Here we go. No, everybody hates each other. And the thing is, if you start talking politics, that's why I say never talk politics on during the holidays, because it's going to be destruction. It's pointless. It's pointless. There's nothing that's pointless. It doesn't matter what now. It used to be back in the day. Somebody does something that you can say, wait a minute, maybe that's not the person I thought they were. I'm not going to vote for that person. Now, doesn't matter. You know who you're going to vote for. It's your team. It's Yankees or Red Sox. It's horrible. It's the worst it's ever been. Okay. Thank you, Derek. There's another one there. So, let's see. Next one is Shay Markel. Kristian, I am by no means a wrestling fan, but The Rock roasting the entire Phoenix, Arizona a while back is hilarious, as he called them crackhead Karens. Yeah, he's he when he's the heel, his stuff as a heel is pretty fantastic. He's pretty great on the mic and everything too. The sad movie guy. I mean, are we gonna hit 40 today, guys? I'll be happy with 40. I'll be happy with what I have now, but I'll be really happy if I can get to 40. At what point does Sony realize that they could just use Miles for their movies and leave Peter to the MCU? Building a live-action universe around Miles just seems like the best, well-done option. Yeah, it is true, and it's also one of the things that they could do if they introduced Miles, who should be the kid from the Penguin, by the way. But if they did introduce Miles, they can introduce him with it, whether it's Toby or Andrew, and do it in one of their movies. Double up. Make some good movies. So there's a possibility that they can do that, but I just don't think. I think that they have the same type of problem that Lucasfilm has. Sony. There's executives with one type of brain, and then there's executives that have that type of brain plus creative. That's not the case over at Blumhouse has both. Kevin Feige has both. This is Lucasfilm doesn't have it. James Gunn has got both. But Lucasfilm and Sony don't have it. They've got Rothman over and Kennedy, and Rothman is one-sided business mind. How do we make money? How do we make money? And the creative goes out the window, and that's why these things smell like farts on a platter. Okay. Next one. And this comes from Cowboy Kush. Mark, loved you my entire life. My God. He was great, wasn't he? I really liked talking to him. I always like the challenge. I like the challenge of having when I first meet somebody they're going like, what is this show? Who am I talking to? What is this? What do my people set me up with here? And then feeling that feeling of, okay, he's enjoying talking now. I love that. It's one of my favorite things in the world, because I don't want to, and that's what I said. I did, other people have asked, what kind of, are there going to be personal questions? I said, look, I just want to have a conversation with somebody. If it turns personal in the middle of it when we're just talking. And he wasn't guarded. He talked, and I loved that. The Cali Kid, holy sheet, Zach, a rare LA native in Hollywood. Yeah, he is. He is. He's got a Dodger hat and everything. Roman Fedoruk, hey all, hope you're having a good day, Kristian. Thank you. Keep being your awesome self. Thank you, Roman. Are there any funny horror movies that you found unintentionally funny? I'm sure. I think there was one back in the day that Ellis and I watched. What the hell was it? I mean, I remember was it Chainsaw Massacres? One of the Chainsaw Massacres was really stupid, funny. It's the movies, like I said, the movie's not bad. Smile 2, there's a really dopey scene that it took me out of it. I started laughing for a second. I'll talk about it in the spoiler review, but there was one scene but the whole movie, no. The whole movie, for the most part, there's one scene in the car that's really creepy, and Naomi Scott does a great job acting in the car. Simon Section, dude, Simon, thank you so much for that. That is what a very generous super chat that is, and everybody who's putting stuff in, but that's a very generous one. Kristian, do you know the Sly Stallone YouTube page? If so, I commented on a post of Sly and his wife, which I mistook her for one of his daughters. There was a reply, and they appreciated the comment with a reply, let's talk on WhatsApp. Do you know what this means before I reply? Don't reply. It is horse crap. Happens on my channel all of the time. If you ever see something from me that says, hey, let's chat on WhatsApp, whatever, not me. I'm not going to ask you to do that. Not going to ask you to chat. Never going to ask you for anything in a DM. That's what they do, these creeps. They throw these things out and they get people and they try to fish them in going, oh, it's Sly Stallone. Yeah, it really is him. So check it out. And it's the same kind of phishing emails that they do. I got somebody who sent me an email that said, Sarah Silverman wants you on her podcast. And here it is. And it was a Gmail account. Like, yeah, I don't think that's true. So don't buy that stuff. They're just trying to prey on you. Do not respond to it. It's garbage. Thank you, Derek. A little bit more there. Appreciate it. We're at 36, guys. We're getting close. We might actually hit it before we tune out here. Amazing. Yeah, really, and really like that conversation with Mark Paul. Chris Daniel, when will Puck be on to interview? So you guys didn't watch the show yesterday. They'll go right over your head. Puck from MTV was brought up on the show yesterday, and apparently he's doing some more stuff. Apparently he's involved with the Ringer somehow. I don't know how that is. I didn't know. Zeus Fleming, cool name. Tom Drake never gets nothing. Love is Robin. Nothing you love is Robin. I don't know enough about Tom Drake. Is that a Robin? See, I'm not going to pretend that I know. Noob style. Matthew Garrett, Caddo Lake, new on Max, stars Dylan O'Brien. Such a smart thriller, dark, spooky, incredibly well written, produced by M. Night Better. Interesting. Okay, so Dylan O'Brien, I don't know, I hope I'm allowed to say this. Dylan O'Brien is in my friend David Gambino's wife's movie. I hope I can say that. And he, from what I was talking to David about it, I said, yeah, I like that kid. He's a really good actor. And he's like, yeah, he really is good. David wasn't as familiar with him before. He said, he's really, really good. Apparently he's really great in Saturday Night. So that doesn't surprise me. He's a very talented actor. And he's one of those guys that can't blow up. I want him to. Let's see. Here is the next one. The Raven Effect. Speaking of Matt Lillard, have you ever watched The Descendants? Great movie. It's actually a movie I enjoy very much. Great movie. It was 2011. I loved that movie. Really, really good. My daughter will be so upset with me if I don't ask Matthew Lillard tons of Five Nights at Freddy's questions. It's her favorite thing. So she really, really wants me to ask a bunch of stuff, and I'll do that today. Luke TG1 TTV saw Transformers 1. I loved it. Love that. Beetlejuice 2, I didn't like it. I'm seeing Wild Robot in IMAX next week in one of my biggest screens in Europe. Hype. Enjoy it, man. It's fun. Yeah, I get the Beetlejuice 2 thing. When I saw it the first time, I said, fine for what it is. Second time I saw it with my daughter, I was like, she loved it. You know, she's 12. She loves Beetlejuice. And so she loved it. I was watching it and I was like, there's just so much going on. It's too much going on. It's funny because we were going to do a thing on, we were going to do a reaction to Beetlejuice 2. But then we were like, there's other things right now. It doesn't seem like people are really caring about people watching this. So we bailed on it. Mike, yeah, the UFO drone swarms. Yes. Zeus Fleming coming back in. Sorry, meant Tim Drake, not Tim Fat Thumb Syndrome is real. Yeah. Still, I don't know enough about Tim Drake, so it doesn't really matter either way. I wouldn't have gotten it anyway. Okay, let's see. There's one more here from Shay. I think there's two more. We might make it 38. The Wicked movie has some controversy due to the lead actress blowing up on fans over their fan art of the movie poster. I wonder what studios can do to keep their actors from tanking a movie's PR. What is that? I don't know. Yeah, tell me a little bit more about it. I haven't heard about it. I have to look. I don't understand. Yeah, it is one of those things. I think it came out in the report. This is a nightmare. This thing, or what it can do. It's like you feel like, well, I want to have my voice and I want to say this, and I don't know what happened, so I don't know the situation. I'm not speaking on this in particular, but there are tons of times where people go, "I'm going to say this to you," and they say this, and they mix it worse. It makes it worse. It's like there's so much. Sometimes you just stay off it. You're not. It's very similar to what I was talking about with politics. And Roke and I had this whole discussion the other day, and I know some of you disagree with me. There are times when you should absolutely have your voice out there, and you should say things. There are other times it is going to do nothing. Nothing. It is going to just make flames bigger, and you're screaming into a void. There's other times that you should absolutely speak up, and it's going to help. And it's just a matter of being able to balance that. And that's the trick. People going, oh, how do you figure that out? That's the trick. But yeah, I don't think that tweeting things out, and that's what I always say. The best thing about social media is what? Everybody has a voice. What's the worst thing about social media? Everybody has a voice. Okay. Derek. I completely forgot that Mark Paul was on Punk Brewster. And it's crazy. He's an outstanding actor, and I never once have been, and he's never been invited to the Emmys. That's insane. Definitely learned some new things during that interview. Good. I'm glad to hear it, man. I enjoyed speaking with him. I enjoyed talking with him, and I'm glad that he, again, opened up. So Haskell 420 closes us out, maybe, and says, Michael Keaton is hosting SNL this week. Let's go Yankees. Yeah, the Yanks won. That was the other thing. I went into the screening last night to see Smile 2. And the Yankees were on. They were beating Cleveland. It was like 4-2, and then I got home in time to watch Judge hit the home run. So I did that, and then I was breaking my friend Samantha's top. She's a diehard Met fan, and I said to her, well, let's just hope the Yankees win, get the Subway Series. She goes, F the Yankees, and I said, come on, you're not a real New Yorker. And in New York, you can say F the Yankees when they're playing them in the World Series, but I never bought into that logic of I went by my neighbor's house the other day, watches baseball all the time, watching Mets, Yankee games on, wasn't watching. I was like, come on, man. You got to watch both. This is a New York thing. And this is one of the reasons I just moved to New York, obviously in June, moved back anyway. And I just think it would be one of the most memorable things to me is that I move back and then it happens. They have a Subway Series. I would love it. How dare you, PLD? We're F the Yankees. What are you talking about? You're in New York, you rat. Who do you like? The Buffalo Nobodies? How about them? The I wish they were the Ed Harrises. F the Yankees. You better watch your mouth, buddy. I'll make you reschedule one of the things next week because I have to go to a Venom screening. Oh, yeah, wait, I have to do that. So there you go. You found out about that on the air. There you go. Well, that's fair. Someone said Ichiro left the Mariners to go to the Yankees, so F the Yankees. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, that's right, PLD. Yeah, if one show you come in to actually to come in and see what's going on, and you start having conversations about nothing. So I think that's it for today. I hope you enjoy what we did here. I liked it. I hope you liked it. Who's this? I don't know who this is. I don't want to pick this up because I feel like it could be work. I'm not going to pick that up. Who is that? I don't know who that is. That when there's a number, I'm like, sometimes when you pick up a number and it's someone on the air, I don't want to do that. So thank you guys. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure that you, if you haven't already done it, get one of our sponsors. Well, at least browse around one of our sponsors and check it out and see if there's something right for you. I put the links in the description. This will be up on Spotify very, very soon. And then on, what is it? Tomorrow, Steph and Mike reunite, and then Capes and Cowls back on Friday. I have a out of the theater reaction up right now, Smile 2. I'm going to have a reaction with Tina for Wild Robot on Friday. Next Tuesday, I think it's going to, I don't know if I'm going to do Warrior or Venom at this point. There's a lot of stuff coming out. Two more questions before we leave. Okay, 43. Shay Markel, the film poster was edited to look more like the original. She feels like it's degrading. I can't speak for her, but I don't see it. You'd have to see it. I have to see it. But it's like, but here's what I don't understand. Again, I don't know the full story, but let's say from what you told me, Shay, that she, and I don't know who it was who tweeted out. But anyway, star of the film sees the studio and does this. And it's very similar to a Schmodown thing. And I had this happen before. I tweet out a Schmodown poster. I tweet out a Schmodown promo. And instead of coming to me and saying, hey, can we either change this or is there anything that can be done or I wish someone would have talked to me about it, they tweet out something. And they tweet out about it, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, what are you doing that public for? And it's like, I don't understand unless the conversation was had with the person, it said, look, hey, don't put that out there. I'm not really loving it. Can we have a discussion? Like, this isn't a contract. It's out there. and you got to bite the bullet on it. Don't go public. I don't understand why you do that. But again, I don't know the full extent of the story. I don't know the whole story. I just think it doesn't help at all. Okay, let's see. Next one, last one. Scott Cross. Penguin is the first show in years that has me excited to watch each week. Unfortunately, no one in my circles are watching it. Bummer. You're my outlet. Well, I will be watching both of them. Both the one I missed last week. I purposely didn't watch it because I'm going to do a reaction to both last week's and this week's together. It'll be a long kind of 2-hour video. So you'll see me on the same thing with Agatha. Sadie's coming into the studio tomorrow so we can watch both of them. And that's what we're going to do. So, yeah, I don't think I'm able to get to Rebel Ridge right now. But I'm going to try. That's it. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Let me know in the comments anything else you guys are liking, disliking. If you're a member, I don't know, did anybody sign up to the membership yet? I'm not sure. Same as Patreon, it's the same thing, but I give 2 options there. And that's it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.